Hi everybody! List comprehensions were a topic that seemed to be a little bit glossed over in the official videos, so I thought I'd go over them. List comprehensions are actually a shorthand loop. So let's start out looking at a while loop. This is actually the simplest kind of loop, even though it has a lot of lines of code because everything in it is explicit. In this example, the loop goes through a list and creates a new list based on it. As you can see, you have to take care of some housekeeping, like you have to say, here's a new empty list to build onto, and here is I, which is an index number that keeps track of where we are in the list. At the end of every trip through the list, you have to say, set the index number to itself plus 1 to update it. But before you do that, you use the index number to find the value at that position in the original list and assign it to the variable j. Then you append to the new list that you're building up. In this case, we're doubling it, so you append j times 2. And that will make a new list with all of the values in the first list doubled. If you get confused or you need to debug, you can add all these print statements in the midst of your loop, and that way the console output will show you exactly what's going on, what's in each variable as you move through the loop. I did this with a smaller list than I'm using in the other examples so that it would all fit on one screen. This is a really handy debugging tool. Here is a for loop version of the same thing. It goes through and builds a new list with double each number in the starting list, but as you can see, it's got a lot fewer lines of code. That's because it takes care of keeping track of where you are in the list for you. So this says for every value in the list A, go through one by one and assign it to the variable j, which it creates and assigns for you, unlike when in the while loop you had to do it explicitly. And then within the loop, you do the same thing as in the while loop by appending to the new list you're building up j times 2. A list comprehension is even shorter shorthand than the for loop. Not only does it keep track of where you are in the list for you and assign each item in the list to the variable for you, it will also append to a new list for you. As you can see where I've highlighted, the clauses of the for loop sort of map into this new syntax to make a list comprehension. So the j times 2 actually comes first in this, but then you see the for j in list A. Those parts are in the same order. And a list comprehension is always going to return a new list that's made of the values that it comes up with as it goes through the list and does the thing in the first part that we have highlighted in blue. So this is assigning to the variable new list 3 the list that is returned by this list comprehension. And the list comprehension says, give me the double of every item that you find when you're going through list A. Here's another example. This has a helper function, square it. Square it takes a number and returns the square of that number. You can use a function in your list comprehension, so this list comprehension will give you the square of every item that it comes across when it's going through your list. You can also have an if clause at the end of the list comprehension. So this says, if the value that you're looking at this point in the list is even, then square it. If the value that you're looking at this time through isn't even, don't put anything in the new list. So as you can see, what it returns is a lot shorter because it's only finding half of them to be even and giving the square of those. There's one other thing to look out for. If you do happen to have a list of lists that you're going through in your list comprehension, lists are mutable. So if you send your sublist off to a function that mutates it, you will end up changing the list that you started out with. As you can see, unlike in the other examples, the starting list changes after this example. That about covers it, so thanks for watching, and if you have any requests for topics for a video next week, let me know and I'll try and help.